Luke 21, Luke 2:21 through 40. Luke 2:21 through 40. And when 8 days were accomplished for circumcision of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so named of the angel before he conceived in the womb. Now, traditionally, it was done on the 8th day for the males because they were circumcised, and because it was a whole thing. The family would come in, they'd make it special. Now, there is no biblical behind this, other than being circumcised on the 8th day, but they'd make a whole thing of it, and so that is why Jesus wasn't named until the 8th day. And when the days of purification according to the law of Moses, that's 7 days for a male, 14 for a female, but in 7 days they had to set apart to be purified and then go to the temple. It's in Leviticus, and you can find it in laws. Were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. And so they brought him to the temple. At this, the Bible still refers to the housing of the Lord. But at this point, Jesus is the house that the Lord dwells. Because Jesus, as a man, is God. And God's no longer in temple. He's in flesh. He is Jesus. And when the days of purification, verse 23, as it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. So they sent him to the temple to dedicate their lives to the Lord, to prove they're Jewish. It's kind of like baby dedication, how it's done. This was done through all Israelite males, because males were the future. Males had the power. So at this time, the males were the ones that carried on the Israelite race. And to offer sacrifice according to that which is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. So a rich man would offer a sacrifice of a ram or a goat. This shows that Joseph and Mary were poor. So they would have not had to afford a donkey to ride to Jerusalem. They walked. And sadly as that sounds, having the one that's pregnant with our Lord walking to Jerusalem from Nazareth, but they did. Well, walking to Bethlehem, they walked to Jerusalem too. So they walked. And this also shows that the wise men had not came yet, because the wise men bought gold. And they would have reinvested that gold into the sacrifice. Now the sacrifice was not for Jesus. Jesus did not need a sacrifice for him, but the sacrifice was for purity purposes of Mary. And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon. And his name was just and devout, waiting for consolation of Israel, and the Holy Ghost was upon him. You know, I was doing it in here, it's quieter.
Huh?
It's quieter in here.
Oh, for your clock.
Because I don't got one here.
I'm going to change my plug. I got somebody. What is it now?
Okay. So Simon was probably a family name. So Simon would have been from the tribe of Simon, which means he would have been a Levite. He would have been a priest, so he would have been to the temple just to go see the Lord. So this man was, as many others, were waiting on the Messiah to come. that was common in that day, that was accepted in that day. But very few actually went out to see him. They just waited and waited. None of them did anything. And it was revealed to him by the Holy Ghost that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord Christ. So this man waits. He knows the promise of the Lord is to let him see the Christ, the Messiah, Jesus, coming. So he comes to the temple because he knows. Now, it says he came this day, but he may have came day after day after day, because he may have not known when the Lord was coming, just like we don't know when the Lord is coming back. But he knew the Lord was coming, and he was ready and waiting. Now, when the Lord comes back, we as believers will know it. Not know the time, but we ain't gonna miss out on him coming back, because he'll take us. But we will. But this man knew Jesus was coming, and he knew that the world would soon know. But he wanted to be there with it. He wanted to be one of the first ones to see the Lord. And he knew that Jesus was Jewish. He was going to be male. So he would have went to the temple to fulfill according to the law. Now, he may have not known Jesus was going to be God, and did not know the Messiah was going to be God. But he accepted it. Accepted the fact that the Messiah was coming. At this time, there was many people waiting on the Messiah, looking for a Messiah. Some found it in false people, such as the Pharisees, maybe. And that may be why they had such power. Okay, verse 26. And it was revealed to him by the Holy Ghost that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord Christ. Okay, verse 27. And he came by the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought in child Jesus to do for him after the custom of the Jews of the law. So he does it according to what is done in the religious things. Then he took him up in his arms and blessed God and said, Lord, now let your servant depart in peace according to the word, for my eyes have seen your salvation. So this man knows that this is the salvation. This is the way the people are going to be saved. Now, it's common accepted that the Messiah was going to come and take over Rome. Now, Jesus came to do far more than just rule a land. He came to build his church. Lord, now let your servant depart in peace according to your word. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared before the face of all people. So he knew that people were going to know about this. People were going to get excited about this. This was going to cause a stir. And he knew now that he saw this, he was at peace. Jesus brings us that peace. He brings us that relaxation, that comfort. He brings us that ease of heart. Because we know we may not do it alone, but we can do it through him. And Joseph and his mother marveled at those things which were spoken of him. So, even having the angels come and speak to him, they still marvel at it happening. They still marvel at the things coming. They still be like in awe. And Simeon blessed him and said to Mary his mother, Behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, for a sign which shall be spoken against. So Jesus fulfills many of the Old Testament prophecies. Jesus is the Word in the flesh. All the Word points to him. Yea, a sword shall pierce through your own soul also, and the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed. And there was one Anna, the prophetess, daughter of Paniel, and of the tribe of Asher. She was a great age and lived with a husband 7 years from her virginity. So this woman was married 7 years. She only knew this one husband. She was also from the tribe of Asher, which was supposedly one of the lost tribes, but you see in the Bible that there's nothing behind this, because the tribe of Asher and the tribe of Benjamin show up. She was old. Usually with old age comes wisdom. She was a spokesman for God. So this woman knew that prophet was coming. Knew that Jesus was coming because she was speaking as a prophet. She was full of the word and knew. Now at this time there may have been many people speaking of the Messiah coming. Yet, like many of the prophets, the people didn't really listen to him. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple, and served God with fasting and prayers night and day. So, even though she wasn't a Levite, people were accepted in the temple, and it showed total devotion to God. Showed that her main focus was God. While other women were going out to get married and raising families, her sole focus now was serving the Lord and nothing else. And she, coming in the instant, gave thanks likewise to the Lord, and spoke to him of him and all them that looked for the redemption in Jerusalem. So people were looking to be redeemed of Rome. But Jesus came to redeem people of their sins. And when they had performed all things according to the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own city, Nazareth. Now this happens after the wise men come, after they go to Egypt, after. It may have been that until all the problems with Herod, that Joseph may have been wanting to raise his son, raise Jesus, up in Bethlehem, or Jerusalem, the city that was more authoritative, more a city of the king to be raised in. Nazareth was a little bitty place, not very significant, and that is why they end up going there. Plus, it's his home. But because he spent time in Jerusalem, lived there for a couple years at least. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and grace of God was upon him. So Jesus had the Spirit and was gracious. And Jesus lives the things of God. He is God.